Yep, I'm just, give me a second, family. I just got to finish this call. You say what now, bro? No, I'm home right now. Yeah, I'm home. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, send it to my email, bro. No, that he one of the professors at GCU. You can, he'll let you know what when I come up there again, though. I usually try to come up there on Wednesdays in the doctoral library, but it'd be like 7 in the morning. Yeah, but they record everything though. Can you hear me? I said they record everything on a GCU log. You can go on there and pull it up, and he'll share everything with you. Yeah, yeah. But I'm getting ready to go live now, man. Can you you can log on if you want to. No, not on my. No, you can. I got my laptop up, and you can log in on the student portal where I have everybody from GCU and the professors. They be on a whole nother stream, because you know a lot of people on YouTube and Facebook they be disrespectful. So I don't be wanting, you know, all the different dignitaries and students to be on that. So join on my on the student that I sent out. Yep, yep. They should have it posted up in the library, so y'all can log in on that login. But I'll talk to you in a minute, bro. Okay, gratitude for everybody. Yep, peace. Sorry about that, everybody. I just had to finish this call. Oh man, beautiful day today, man. I had a chance to go back on campus and meet some new students this morning. I had an amazing workout. Did my miles in the mountains. Did my 5 miles. But it's a good day as it always is, and it's always good to be able to teach those that want to be taught. And I just jump on this social media, and like I said, I'm gonna share everything that I lecture with college students that give me donations and that you know like to hear me speak because I'm an alumni from GCU. I got my dual master's degree from Grand Canyon University, and so a lot of the students they have funds in the student union where they have me come up and I lecture. And I have my own book companies, which is mypdfbooks.com. That's books with a Z. I also have a physical book company called bindedbooks.com. And after I lecture on campus, I usually go through about, on the minimum, because they have a big projector, I go through about 1,100 books that I have. And I let those college students get them for big time discounts, $5 or $10. Usually I let them get them for $5 or $10 because sometimes I have 40 students, sometimes I have 100 students. The biggest crowd I had of students was about 215, and they all give a donation for me to come speak. Each one of them, they all give $25 to $50. But I said, don't break yourself. But most of them do give at least $25 for me to speak. And then after my speaking, I open up my database and I go through college books that they financial aid be eating them up because those, I call it a black hand because a lot of those books that those professors have them use, they don't use the whole chapters. They only use a couple chapters. So I have a lot of college books, PDF, on my tablets and on my database. So I let them get them for pennies and they share them with their classmates. as they take classes in co-op. And then I have a full library. So when they have to do research, the research have to be peer-reviewed scholarly research. And so I have a full database. And so I let the students get books from me for about $5 or $10. And a lot of times I let them lease books, for a small fee each semester. And they just return it back after I print them. But usually they just buy the books from me for a small donation, and I give them a tax-exempt receipt. So with that being said, man, I always have topics and pre-topics, but I just wanted to share some of the books that I've gathered and compiled over the years of my academia endeavor and my spiritual walk. A lot of the hard copies I don't have because I sold them and I print them on demand. So I do have a couple of the covers of my books, and I do have some of the books with the old covers. All my books, they have new covers. And you can go on mypdfbooks.com, that's books with the Z, and purchase all my books as a digital download. Or you can go to my sister company, which is bindedbooks.com, and get all my books bound and printed, and other books, and much, much more. But one of the books I gathered to compile and divinely prepare is called The Interpretation of the Divine Creed of Moorish Islam. This is the new cover of the book. One of my muftis that does all our IT and graphic design, his name is Alonzo Raibe. He has his own IT company, and his graphic design company is called ALO Design Pros, because we do everything in-house. So this is the new cover of one of my books that I gathered, compiled, and divinely prepared. It's called The Interpretation of the Divine Creed of Moorish Islam. I also gathered and compiled the book that You Are What You Eat, Look Good, Feel Good, Eat Good. And all of these have new covers. This is just the old cover of my books. I made a snack book. It's called Vegan Treats. And the reason why I called it Vegan Treats is because a lot of my friends and family, they vegan. And I said, you can make those nice snacks without using certain sugars and certain eggs. And these are just old covers of them, because I gathered and compiled these when I was in college. All of my books are years old. Another book I gathered and compiled is called The Esoteric Science of the Moorish Fez, where it talks about our Moorish fez, what we wear on our head, so you can have a clear understanding, the esoteric and the esoteric meaning of the fez. I gathered and compiled another book, Healthy Living and Eating, where I show a lot of people my workout routines and a lot of the healthy smoothies that I make, Next one was called The 14 Famous Asiatic Scientists in History. And all these books, they have new covers. These were just old covers that I found that I can show. I had another book called The Moorish Scholars Who Debunked Eurocentric Propaganda. And like I said, all these books have new covers. Divine Pattern of the Mosaic Tabernacle and the Moorish Salat. Interpretation of the Divine Creed of Moorish Islam. I don't know if I said this one already. I might have. This is the new cover of the Interpretation of the Divine Creed of Moorish Islam. This is the new cover of this book right here. This book with the old cover. This is the new cover of the book right here. And right now I'm in the process of combining 4 of my books and a couple other my books, so it'll be only like 3 books, and they're gonna be all, put together. The book I was telling you about, let me see, can I find it? This is the new cover of the Euro and Negrocentric Propaganda. This is the new book cover of that book. This is the new book cover of the 14 famous Asiatics, scientists of history. And I've done all these books in college. And I lecture every book that I have, and I got a standing ovation. When I did my oral dissertation, professors was like, they didn't know. And I lecture these books. like 14 famous Asiatic scientists in history, which all your children should have. And I talk about, a lot of us know who Benjamin Banneker was, but I got in here Charles Drew. A lot of my brothers and sisters really didn't know who that was and what he did. Dr. Daniel Hale Williams. This is scholarship when I say we have educators in our history, like myself and those before me. That was anointed and consecrated. We don't talk about just no slavery, a small tittle of history. Ernest Everett Jest. So I have a plethora of scholars in here that a lot of the so-called black professors at these universities, when they came to my oral dissertation, you can hear a pin drop. Garrett Morgan. And so I have my young brothers and sisters speak historically and get out of that one small part of history of so-called slavery. I stay far away from that because I illuminate it, because Europeans were slaves too before you. When I highlighted white cargo, and they were white and they were slaves. James West. So I'm just showing a small view of a lot of the books that I gathered and compiled for my people can purchase off my company pages. And none of my books are on Amazon. Why? Because I created my own website. I created bindedbooks.com, Binded Books, where you can get all our books bound and printed from our company. We have our own printing press. And then my other company is mypdfbooks.com. That's books with the Z, where you can purchase all my books as digital downloads and download on your tablet or your phone. So when you're traveling, you don't have to take books and you don't let people borrow things because you're never going to get them back. My other book was Eurocentric Propaganda, where I got a lot of scholars. And these are small little compilations for you can get, because the average Negro is not going to read 200-300 pages. They just don't have the aptitude. The saying is still valid today. If you want to hide something from a Negro, put it in the book. I ask so many adults, what's the last book you read? But they can tell you about the last hip hop. They can tell you about the goofy stuff on social media. And in here, I have black scholars that are Moorish scholars, black scholars. I just like to use that as a speaking point. I know black has no nationality, and it's an adjective, but I use it just to open your ear. When I have our elder, Ivan Van Sertima, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, Dr. Ben, and I break down their autobiography and the work that they done, Dr. Anthony Martin, Dr. Chancellor Wilson, for your babies can know who these people are. Dr. George G.M. James, The Rope Stolen Legacy. I lectured that the other day. Sheikh Anta Diop, one of the prolific scholars of our day. Sheikh Anta Diop. John Henry Clark, that's one of my mom's favorites. And a lot of our youth don't know who these people are. Dr. Marimba Ani. Dr. Amos Wilson, my man, my main man. And that's just a tittle. That's just a tittle of the brothers. But my 14 famous Asiatic scientists in history book is so prophetic. You got Professor Samuel Massey Jr., which a lot of our people never heard of because they keep our people in slavery. Patricia Bath, Percy Lavin Julian, all these educators in history, scholars that done the work, educators, PhDs, doctors, master degrees like myself, Norbert Rillicks, just to name a few. And I gathered, compiled, and divinely prepared the history for we can learn. And like I said, my book, The Esso Science of the Moorish Fez, so you can know what this Fez is all about. We supposed to write the record. It's nothing new under the sun, but I gathered, compiled, and divinely prepared this history and this literature for my brothers and sisters. I got more books coming out about trust funds, all the different trusts, and why you should get a trust instead of a will. I got another book coming out about allodial deeds. When people, especially these Moors, get on here talking about this and that, and you own a house and all that, I said, allodial deeds, allodial title don't have nothing to do with no brick and mortar. That has to do with land. that shows you how far our brothers and sisters are off. It shows you how far people off. And so I gathered and compiled all these books, and all of them have new covers, because a lot of them, they got old covers. Like this is the old cover of the Interpretation of Divine Creed of Moorish Islam, but this is the new cover. One of the books that I'm going to be referencing from today, and then when I get into the misnomer Black Man, the Father of Civilization, proven by the Bible, but one of the books I gathered, compiled, and divinely prepared as well is called Sufism and the Triple Roles of the Adapt Chamber, featuring the Kemetic Adapt Manual and the use of our carpenter tools. And in this book, I talk about science. I try to give my brothers and sisters a crash course in less than 30 pages. And I just go through it. And then when I get to the 7 Kemetic Principles, I'll go through those principles. Then I will get into my main topic. But my book titled Sufism and the Triple Roles of the Adapt Chamber. Oh, I forgot this one. I'm sorry. The Divine Pattern of the Messiah Tabernacle. In here, I show you how the BBT believe. And then I just show you the Moorish Salat. When I tell people, a lot of people just talk things, but it's not in no Quran. It's their tradition. And I break things down and I give it to you and say, study it for yourself. If someone's saying it's in the Quran, then they should show you. Just like Thomas, he wasn't doubting. If I say I'm gonna do this and I can do this, all you got to do is say, show me. If I say I have degrees from colleges, all you have to do is say, show me, brother. You don't have to listen to me. So when people say things, it's just their tradition and it's not law. And I broke it all down in one of my books right here. I'll talk about it in a minute. But it's so much correction, just a lot of Al-Islam Muslims, and I don't have no disrespect to none of them, but it's just facts that a lot of our brothers and sisters operate on tradition, not knowing, because if you want to hide something from a Negro, put it in the book. I don't care if you Christian or Al-Islam Muslim, you recite things, and a lot of people only read what they tell them. The average Muslim, the average Christian are not scholars. To be an Islamic scholar like myself and others, to be a scholar in Christian studies and history and law and civics and all facets of law and finance, that's a life study. You continue to learn. You have a full library. And you're just not quoting no crazy Black Laws dictionary, some damn terms. It means nothing. It means nothing. But as I break down in here, and I tell you I'm not orthodox, when I talk about salats and all these different ones, how the salat should be performed while standing, not prostrating or bowing, because salat, which is worship, is done standing according to the Quran. But the Muslims in the East have added all the different positions mentioned in the Quran, just like all the different positions of prayer is mentioned in the Bible, if you know that. And they made up a rakat. A rakat is a ritualized performance of different positions. When I talk about the qiyam, it's the only position done twice in a rakat, because it's the only position that is prescribed by the Quran during salat. So I talk about all these things, especially for my Moors in chapter 1 and chapter 11 of your Moorish Holy Quran. They quite comparable, and they mirror each other, and they are illuminating mutual commentary and understanding for the other chapter. Chapter 1 speaks of the 3 planes, spirit, soul, manifest. Chapter 11 speaks of the 7 planes, angel, cherubim, man, beast, plant, earth, protoplasm. Chapter 1 speaks of Allah, and chapter 11 speaks of the true in Allah and the 7 Elohims. Chapter 1 speaks of one thought of Allah, his thought of man, and chapter 11 speaks of the 7 ether planes of experience, literally teeming with the unique thoughts of Allah that are other than man, that will unfold into perfection of his own kind, and the 9 others. Chapter 1 speaks of the carnal nature that sprang forth from the soul experience of sensation through the vehicle of the flesh, and chapter 11 speaks of man's sluggish well-being, the catalyst of the rise of the carnal nature, being the result of the fall. As in their original state, all creatures on all planes sustain, nourish their bodies via what? Breathing. Yet the fall caused the stronger manifest to get nourishment indirectly via devouring the weaker manifest. And so I break all these down. A simple compilation, so you won't get caught up, so you can read for yourself. And I said, we are more than just basketball players and football players and Negroes that just act off emotion. We more than that. We are the thinkers. When I was lecturing at college, and I love Neville Goddard. When you research Neville Goddard and go on YouTube and go on at my page, different lectures, I'll show you that Neville Goddard, he got all his history and his wisdom from the Ethiopian rabbi. All you got to do is pull up Neville Goddard and the Ethiopian rabbi, and then listen to Neville Goddard give wisdom to the Ethiopian rabbi, Abdullah. And then come back to me and we have a conversation, because Abdullah saved his life, just like I save a lot of my brothers and sisters' lives. I don't care what color they are, from the wisdom. From the wisdom. And that's why my own people will accuse me and they will kill me like they killed my brother and my cousin. And that's why I say we are at a lost position, because we don't see ourselves as gods. Our own people will get on social media, and the first thing they do is start disrespecting me or cussing or accusing me of things, and they don't even know me. And then when people know me in the flesh, they be like, man, clearly something wrong with you, because this man done this, this man done that. You know, that was in our Moore's Quran, chapter 1 and chapter 11. I'm going to give a little bit more, then I'm going to proceed. When drawing up a representation graph of both the Quranic ayats superimposed on each other, we can clearly see the 10 realms, or the 10 sephirats, when my Jewish brothers read. The spirit spoken of in chapter 11 superimposed over the 3 in chapter 1. The 3 spheres, the true in Allah, wisdom, will, love on the spirit plane, 6 on the soul of plane, and 1 on the plane of manifest. And that diagram, when you have a pictorial in your hippocampus, it will look exactly like what? The Kabbalistic tree of life. If you have any wisdom, it will look like the Kabbalistic tree of life. And yet we as Moorish American Muslims, and this teaching was gleaned from our prophet's literature. And so we are not Moors discussing Hebrew Kabbalah, but Moors discussing this form of Islam. Not no al-Islam, not none outside of ourselves, but this Islam that was brought to the North American misnomer Negro from our prophet Noble Drew Ali. In the Aramaic language, the numbers are the letters. And so it should not surprise any student that 1 is Alf. Alf and 10 equals Yah or Yad, or a mathematical depiction of Allah. Arm, leg, arm, head, standing up as a perfect pentagram. The 1 on the highest plane of spirit life, represented by the first of the high trinity, or the unity of spheres, that the Hebrews call the Kether, and the presence within the manifest creation, represented by the 10th, or the last sphere, that the Hebrews call Malkuth, Malkuth, called by the Quran of Mecca Khalifa, referring to the first man. And the concept of the Salat has more to do with worship, working for, than just praying. The root of the word worship literally is an act of service, a worthy act, and thus deals with the fulfillment of one's obligation, duty, and responsibility to Allah, which is why the master was told to relax while the servants were away taking care of their salat, which obviously was going to take some time to perform. So the most common form of the salat can be seen as a set of jobs given to a servant by his master that must be performed every day. And this connection or following behind is where the word ritual from originates. And if understanding the word R-I-T-E, which is right, we are Muslims every day. Not on Friday, not on Sunday. Thus we should only be performing salat on Friday and Sunday. No, every day we are Muslims. And we perform the salat al-Fard, the salat al-Wusta, the salat al-Aisha every single day. Every single day. I mean, it's text, it's Quranic text to tell you these things. And I don't come with no disrespect from no one, but religious Muslims, religious Moors have stated that this is not orthodox. And I say, heck no, it ain't orthodox. This ain't the orthodox way to perform a salat, a rakat, a sajah, a dua, or anything else. Because how Muslims do at the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School, we do things not orthodox way. We do things the right way, according to the Holy Quran, according to the Al Quran, according to the biblical scriptures. And for further illustration, I can go through the Holy Quran of Moorish science and the Great Quran of Muhammad. Read Ayat 1587. Just read it for yourself. And then ask a question, which most of my Muslim brothers, my Al-Islam brothers never done because they don't read. They just recite what somebody give them. And just like my Christian brothers, they only recite what someone give them. They don't read nothing. They don't study nothing. These old people be on the internet just posting stuff. And they got us acting like Crips and Bloods. My family don't support nothing, Brother Roderick. They'll get on my YouTube channel, but they won't send a donation. And my dad told me, you got to understand your family. They love you, but they don't support nothing because we cursed. We are cursed due to what? The lack of knowledge. We are cursed. And a lot of people come from hate because it's not them that have the aptitude to put in that work. We get so much glory working with our hands and don't get glory work with our brains. And when we have somebody in our family that's done gather and compile all these books that I'm showing y'all, like my book I'm referencing from. My whole family should have all my books, Roderick, but they don't. All college professors, all college students have my books out here in Arizona. And I'm from Flint, Michigan. I got over 300-400 family members on my page. They jump on my page each week, don't say nothing, won't never send a donation. And I'm okay with that because I know how my people are. But we want praise and worthy when we die. And that's the only time we feel we have glory, which is sad. But when you read, I got family that, and they named their kids after Islamic characters, after Muhammad daughters and things. Ask them, do they understand anything Islamic? Ask them, do they understand anything about the biblical scriptures? No. And show the student why we only do 3 minimum. Even though I don't have an issue with the more. I don't have an issue with an Al-Islam Muslim doing the 5 traditional salats that's done in the East because that's just tradition. How? Back in the day, your mom, your grandma, they cut the turkey in half. Why? Because they didn't have big conventional ovens. They didn't have big pans. So if any ladies doing that today, they got to be crazy. That's not law. That's a tradition. That's a tradition. That's not law. It's a tradition. And when you look up, it's different Muslims and everything. It states that the salat is prescribed at 5 periods of the day as part of tradition. As part of tradition. However, the Quran, if these people read, which I know they don't, but the Quran only calls for 3, which are measured according to the movement of the sun. These are near dawn, the Fajr, just after the sun, noon, Dhuhr, in the afternoon, the Asr, just after the sunset, Maghrib, and around nightfall, the Isha. And the student must understand that the 5 daily salats are part of tradition, meaning they are not actually law. They are not actually fard or halal. They do not have to be performed according to the Quran. And the Quran only mentions 3 periods of time for prayer. Ask the Al-Islam Muslim. What they do is get mad. That's all they do. And the Quran does not state that the student must perform a ritual of Qiyam, Ruku, Qiyam, Sajda, Jalsa. It doesn't. And the 5 or the 7 pillars is not found in the Quran either. All of this is tradition, not law, not fard, not halal. The salat of one Muslim may differ from another in mirror detail, which can affect the precise actions and words involved. The difference occurs because of different interpretations of the Islamic legal sources by different mahidas or mahdis. That's schools of law in Sunni Islam, and by different legal traditions with Shiism. Muslims believe that the Prophet Muhammad practiced, taught, and disseminated the worship ritual in the whole community and made it part of their life. But if they have any reading, Muhammad was illiterate. All you got to do is read the book Gad and Seer, see who Muhammad married, see who Muhammad was under. Roman and Catholic priestess, Khadijah and Werwegwa. Khadijah and Werwegwa. When I tell you all religion, Christianity or Christendom and Al-Islam is catechism. A person can get mad at me all they want to, but they're not a scholar and they're not going to tell the truth. But I bet you in academia settings around my peers, when we do peer review scholarly research, I bet you nobody say nothing. That's why I don't argue with no religious person. I don't argue with no Christian or no Muslim. I'm not wasting my time because I know you don't know too much. And I know you base your understanding or your belief, which can be based on a lie, your belie is based on tradition. In the basic form of the salat is not based on the hadith or the Quran, but on the conscience of that Muslim. Differences also occur due to the optional recommended rather than the obligatory articles of the Salat, which verses of the Quran to recite, and the different performances of Salat varies from one Muslim to another. And it occurs because it's not in the Quran. It's only tradition. And the most universally accepted tradition is called Orthodox. Ask any of them. They now gonna tell you that. But they can't dispute what I'm saying because I'm coming from scholarship. And you got to remember, tradition does not make law. Only the Quran can make it law. Only the Quran can make it fire or halal. And I asked him, show me. Don't get mad. I don't want to hear what you're saying. Get your Quran. Get your Al-Quran. And let's go to the ayats. We can go ayat from ayat. And I bet you're not going to find it. They believe that the Prophet Muhammad practiced, taught, and says actually record of this. It does not say it's actually record of this, which is why the Salat varies from one another. The basic form of Salat is not based on no hadith. The number of regular Salat mentioned by their respective names in Arabic in the Quran are 3 as follow. The Dawn Prayer, ayat 24 and 58. The Salat al-Wusta, which is the middle prayer, ayat 2, 238 and ayat 17, 78. Ayat 17 and 78. Salat Isa, which is the night, the evening prayer, ayat 24 and 58. Fact check me. But these Negroes be all mad and blown out at the mouth, and them Negroes can't even read, talk about they recite Arabic. Man, you don't even know how to read. And when you study these ayats, the student will see no specific way of performing these salats. There is no mention of how to make a rakat, which is a ritualized ruku. The word rakat is only speaking of a ruku, not a qiyam or qiyam, sajah or a jalsa. These salats are mentioned in the Quran by their names as a salat in Arabic, salat dur, salat esr, salat maghrib, and maghrib does not mean sunset, which they'll lie to you. It means west. That's why when they turn and pray, they say they face in the west. Some students debate the word, the dhuhr, the asar, and the maghrib. They are used in the Quran, but not as a term defining no salat. The word noon is used, but not as a salat time or a salat al-dura, but rather a time of privacy, a time of rest for the God. Read in your Quran, ayat 24 and 58, and then come back and ask me and see if I'm lying to you, all my al-Islam Muslims. Everybody, I got a lot of al-Islam family members, and I know they don't study the Quran. I know this for a fact. I got a lot of family that say they Christian. I know they don't read the Bible. That's why both of them Negroes are arguing with each other, because they don't know they have the same forefathers, and they got these pale people and these people outside of yourself and these people that call themselves black this, black Muslim, black this, black Hebrew Israelite, black Mason, got you fighting over some stuff. Not telling you the truth of nothing. And this is how we operate. And I highlight this in my book. I can go on and on with that, but I don't want to stay in there. It's in my book. It's in my book that I gather, compile, and divinely prepare. It's in there, like Heinz ketchup. But one thing I know, our people don't read, and my people are lost due to a lack of knowledge because they refuse to learn. And if you want to hide something from any Negro, put it in the book. You got family members arguing over religion. Oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I don't talk to them because they crazy, they think they this. But then you do have those radical Moors that think they some sovereign citizens because they don't want to be educated. They want something from the government. And so I say the government's your daddy. They want to be some stupid sovereign citizens, which is an oxymoron. How the hell are you going to be a sovereign and a citizen at the same time? You can't. And then when I showed them the state booklet, how the Moorish Science Temple was organized by the prophet, them Negroes still won't read it. And that's why they going to jail. So I'm going to reference a little bit of my book, which is my subtopic, the 7 Kemetic Principles. And then I get to my main topic and we out of here. So I talk about the Sufism and the triple role of the adapt chamber, featuring the Kemetic and adapt manual and the use of our carpenter tools. When I talk about the adapt chamber, aka the third paradise, is revealed its inner triplicity, synchronicity, in accordance to the formation of the 3 orders of degrees within itself. When I talk about, I understand all the religious rights. I have to. If you are an adapt, if you are a scholar, if you are an elder, you cannot diss no religious rights. Because if you have a clear understanding, they all synchronize. So the first one is the Fatimid order. The second one is the order of Jerusalem. And the third one is the order of the Paraclete. And each of these orders is radically tolerant and interfaith. But each of them possess, to speak, a specialty. They represent the three Western monotheisms in their essential and esoteric harmony. Amenity of faith is achieved through hearsay, non-canonical interpretations of doctrines. So, I just wanted to give a little highlight of that. In the light of our Prophet Noble Drew Ali's Circle 7 Quran, which makes use of the esoteric Christian and the Rosicrucian Apocrypha by a syncretic or synchronizing principle, we have inherited for us the monotheisms, our living, mutating entities, interpreted or intertwined and mutually elusive or illuminative. This position has been called somewhat jocularly polyreligiously. It owes something to paganism per se, which is not truly polytheistic, but rather a congeries of distant cults and sets, recognizing a universalistic, when I say cults, I mean cultures, a principle of mutual validation. It also owes something to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali's syncretism or his syncretic genius, and also to the position of Hazrat Eniat Khan, the Christi Sufi, who practiced the harmony of faith and whose teachings were incorporated in the Adapt Chamber and in the MOC of the early 60s with the permission of certain surviving disciplines in the Delhi at the shrine of Nazmadi in Aliyah. So the Fatimid order, I just give a little tittle of these orders, is primarily Islamic. Specifically, it deploys a spiritual initiatic affiliation with revolutionary Islamism and transmission of the Hafiziyah, whose imams were the caliphs of the Fatimid order and the Fatimid dynasty of Egypt, 1913 to 1171. And this line supposedly disappeared and is not presented by any church in the world today, other than the FO order, which owes no allegiance to the Nazaris or the Qarmanis of Boras or the other extents of the Ismaili sects. The order concerns itself with the Kemeticism or the Hermeticism, in which initiates visions are sought without any authoritarian master and without affiliation. So I just wanted to give a little intro of that. The order of Jerusalem is Jewish, but specifically Judeo-Canaanite or Hebreo-pagan or Jewish magical in emphasis. Moreover, Jerusalem is the symbolic capital city of the three monotheisms. Muhammad and so-called Jesus, they were supposed to transcend from the same place, and thus of special interest to the Adapt Chamber. Even as this literature is being brought to you, the Order of Jerusalem is established itself in Jerusalem, where it will be propagated or foster interest in the harmony and peace of faith, the study of the archaic Canaanite and other Holy Land religions and cults or cultures of the Topsicosmy, the popular Kabbalism, and the magic, the tradition of the Sabbatati Sevi, the false Messiah, who converted to Islam in 1666, the Dome of the Rock and the temple symbolized by the Burqar, the half mule, half angel, the beast that Muhammad rode to paradise, launching from the rock to the seventh heaven. The Order of Jerusalem is also a chivalric order in that it awards all members the title Cavalier or Chevalier of the Moorish Order of Jerusalem. And the purpose of these knights is to foster and protect the mission in Jerusalem. And the last one is the Paraclete, the Christian. But since it admits potentially any form of Christianity, it is indefinitely flexible and expansive, meaning you can add to it. Meaning you can add to it, Meaning you can add to it, And the Paraclete, the one who is to come, has been identified with Muhammad. So that's what I break down. I'm not here to argue with no one. Somebody said Jesus Christ is coming soon. Repent, 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 repent all. I understand what people be saying in their religious perspective. I get it. But I want people to have a clear understanding I'm not on here to argue with no one. I'm not on here to tell nobody what to do. I'm on here to, if you a studier and a philosopher, if you study and read and know what words mean when they've been written, that's all I'm here for, as a teacher and a map and a guide. Because I teach in real life. I teach in the Jewish churches. I teach in the Christian churches. I teach in the synagogues. I'm from Flint, Michigan. I'm in Arizona. I do this in real life. I just came off college campus lecturing. So I'm not here to argue with my brothers and sisters. I'm not here to do that. I'm not here. Somebody say we only study the word of God. I hear you. But why do we get on here and do these things? I'm a studier. I'm using tools. I'm not here to tell nobody what to believe in. And that's what I say when I tell my people. I have my master's degree in Christian studies. I also have a degree in Islamic studies. I also have a degree in first century history and religion. So when people just get on here and start saying things, I say, why attack me? I'm not telling nobody what to believe in. I'm not telling nobody what to do. And that's what we do with religion. We would get religion and then start telling somebody, if you don't do this, you're going to die. Or this, that, and the other. But somebody on their dying bed, or after they did all the atrocities, they can say, Jesus, forgive me. And then what? Are you forgiven? So I'm not here to argue with nobody or none of that stuff. When people jump on my page, what's his name? Cliff. Why were you? I don't even know your name. I'm not here to argue with that. I break. And and the first thing that we do as a people, we jump on the page and don't even pay attention to what a person's saying, or don't even do any research and see what a person's talking about. We start accusing and making accusations. And that's what a lot of religious people do, which I don't come from disrespect. I don't come from disrespect from no one. And I want to always make that valid. But that's what we do on social media. And you have to have tough skin, because I come from love. I study the biblical scriptures. I study all the texts. I got my dual master's degree in Christian studies. I'm a Christian counselor. But as a scholar, as an educator, I studied the Islamic text. I studied the Christian text. I studied Sufism. I studied all the Jewish texts, the Sephirots. I studied the Kabbalah. I studied history. That's why I'm an educator. If I was teaching Islamic studies on the college campus, what would you, a person would try to throw darts at you saying, well, Jesus is the only way. I'm a teacher. If I'm teaching Christian studies, and just like a lot of professors, they don't even, I'm right at GCU, you got professors that teach Christian studies, they don't even believe in the Bible. You got professors that teach African American studies, and they don't even believe in none of that. So that's what I be saying to my people. Will we just have a listening ear? Will we have a listening ear? You know, and I tell a person this, and this is what this person's saying. And I want my Moosey to jump on YouTube. Well, you teach the truth. And that's what I tell people. Well, why don't we make our social media pages and we share our thoughts with people instead of jumping on a person's page and you may not agree with what they're saying? Why don't you just teach your people that know your voice? And that's all I'm saying. And that's what I want my people to do. This person said, I'm not accusing you, but let the people know the truth. What is the truth? What is the truth? What is the truth? That you don't have rights in America? That America is not the place, the land of the free, the home of the brave, and you have the right to choose what religion you want to? Or are we in a dictator country or demographic area where you have to be like this? And see, that's why I say these people, they say the truth is Jesus Christ. I never said nothing, no disrespect about it. I do know the holy names. I do know mythology, and I know it never was a J in the Hebrew dialect. So how can the Jesus Christ and Jesus just mean justice? So when I deal with linguistics, how old is the name Jesus? How old is the name Jehovah? Was that what they call him? Because in the Bible it says praise his holy name. So was Jesus his holy name? So when people just be jumping on here, spewing up at the mouth, that's your man-made religion. And I don't have no problem with you. I tell you peace and love. You see what I'm saying, Noble? Here it is, like this person, Cliff, on here talk about Jesus the only way, and clearly don't know who I am and don't know what I teach. I'm a teacher. I don't have no problem with the Messiah. I don't have no problem with, in the modern terms, Jesus Christ. I don't have no problem with that. I don't have no problem with the Al-Islam Muslim. I don't have no problem with nobody. Zero. I'm a teacher and an elder. I'm a Moor. And so when I break the Moorish Quran down, the Moorish Quran is not no Al-Islam. The Moorish Quran is based off the Bible and the Rosicrucian manuals and other literature. But that's what we do as a people. We jump on other people's pages and just start talking and talking and talking. And I say, if that's how you feel religiously, I would have my own YouTube channel and I would teach my own people. I wouldn't be on no person page saying this is the only way and doing all that. I would just be quiet. And if I'm not here to learn, I would block myself or I would just jump off that person page. But that's what we do as a people, and that's what religion does to us. That's what religion does to us. And false history and Eurocentric and Negrocentric propaganda. It says your way is the best way. But it was 13 crucified saviors before Jesus Christ. If you have any historicalness of you, it was 13 crucified saviors before the so-called Jesus Christ. So let me finish my dissertation. Please. Please, man. I mean, that's why I say, man. That's why I say, let me block this. And I don't ever, and don't I always say we know we got one God. Let me block this person, man. Let me block this person. And let me remove them. And if they keep speaking, then I'll block them permanently. Because that's what these religious people do. They jump on here and just go radical with the shit. Excuse my candor. And if they follow me, I tell people, listen, make your own choice. Make your own choice. You know? Make your own choice. That's all I tell people. Make your own choice, man. That's all you got to do. And remove yourself. That's it. So let's finish, man. I want to get to the 7 Kemetic Principles, and then I jump right into the Father of Civilization. Give me 1 second. What do you say? Oh yeah, I'll be back on campus next Wednesday, bro. In the African American department. What do you say? Yep. What do you say? Yep, GC Grand Canyon University, bro. Okay, so here I am. I'm at the next part. So I'm going to just give you all a little bit of the 7 Kemetic Principles. Just a little introduction. Because if you don't believe in religion and all that, then you should believe in principles. You should believe in principles, you know? You should believe in principles. So the 7 Kemetic Principles upon which the hermetic philosophy is based on is the principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, the principle of vibration, the principle of polarity, the principle of rhythm, the principle of cause and effect, and the principle of gender. So if you don't believe in no man-made religion, if you don't believe in nothing outside of yourself, then I hope you have a clear understanding on principles. And so all those principles, you should take a time to research what are the 7 Kemetic Principles. So I just give a preface of the 7, then we'll jump right into the teaching. So the principle of mentalism, the principle embodies the truth that all is mind. It explains that the all, which is the substantial reality, underlying all the outward manifestations and appearances, which we know under the terms of the material universe, the phenomena of life, matter, energy, and in short, all that is apparent to our material senses, is spirit, which in itself is unknowable and undefinable, but which may be considered and thought of as an universal, infinite, living mind. It also explains that all the phenomena, the world, or the universe is simply a mental creation of the all, the subject to the law of created things, and that the universe as a whole, and in it parts or units, has its existence in the mind, that all, in which mind we live and move and have our beings, the principle by establishing the mental nature of the universe, easily explains all of the very mental and the psychic phenomena that occupy such a large portion of the public attention, and which without such explanation are non-understandable and defy scientific treatment. So I just wanted to give a little introduction of that. An understanding of this great Kemetic principle of mentalism enables the individual of the student to readily grasp the laws of the mental universe and to apply the same to his or her well-being and advancement. The student adept is enabled to apply intellectually the great mental laws. So I just wanted to stop right there. The second principle of correspondence, the as above, so below. The principle embodies the truth that there is always a correspondence between the laws and phenomena of various planes of being and life. The old Kemetic axiom ran in these words: as above, so below. As below, so above. And the grasping of these principles give one the means of solving many dark paradoxes and hidden secrets of nature. There are planes beyond our knowing, but when we apply the principle of correspondence to them, we are able to understand much that would otherwise be unknowable to us. And this principle of universal application and manifestation on the various planes of the material, the mental, and the spiritual universe. It is a universal law. And the ancient Kemetic adapt considered these principles as one of the most important mental instruments by which man was able to pry aside the obstacles which hid from view the unknown. So I just want to give a little preface of that, a gratitude, brother. Its use even tore aside the veil of Asat or Aset to the extent that a glimpse of the face of the goddess might be caught, just as a knowledge of the principles of geometry enables woman to measure the distant suns and their movements while seated in his observatory or on his seat per se. So a knowledge of the principle of correspondence enables man and woman to reason intelligently from the known to the unknown, study the unity. He or she understands the swift angel. The third one is the principle of vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. The principle embodies the truth that everything is in motion. Everything vibrates. I'm sorry, I keep reading. I'm on my college social media too. And my professor said, it's sad that somebody jumped on your page rambling all that stuff and don't know that you lecture here at the college campus and your master's degree is in Christian education. They don't understand what a teacher does is teach. I didn't sit up here and say what my religion is and none of that. I tell everybody I'm a Moor. I'm under the triple rose. I don't diss no biblical books. I don't diss no religious texts. None. There's no reason. I have a clear understanding of it. And I let you make your decision. But I'm not going to tell nobody what to do and this and that and this is the only way. If that's the case, I'll be a dictator. I break down the biblical text and all the biblical texts are saying the same thing. We just don't know that. That's all. Because we under religion, and religion have a lot of people acting like Crips and Bloods. That's all. By the masters of the ancient Kemet, the principle explains the difference between different manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and even spirit, results largely from varying rates of vibration. My professor said, yeah, just like them black Hebrew Israelites that's arguing with everybody on the day, that's saying this, you're going to go to hell. Really? Exactly. From the all, which is pure spirit, down to the grossest form of matter, all is vibration. And the higher the vibration, the higher position is the scale. The vibration of spirit is at such an infinite rate of intensity and rapidity that is practically at rest, just as a rapidly moving wheel seems to be motionless. And at the other end of the scale, there are gross forms of matter whose vibrations are so low as to seem at rest. So between these poles, there are millions upon millions of various degrees of vibration, from corpuscle and electron, atom, molecule, to the worlds and universes. Everything is in vibratory motion. This is also true on the plane of energy and force. When you start researching a little bit more on the mental planes, whose states depend on vibration, and even on the spiritual planes, an understanding of the principle with the appropriate formulas enables the adapt to control their own mental vibrations as well as those of others. And a lot of us, we can't control our mental vibration. We get the spewing off in the mouth. That's what we do. That's what we do as people, especially on this social media. And the masters also applied this principle to the conjuring of natural phenomena in various ways. What'd he say? He said, I wrote that dude handle down. You want me to tell you where he at? No, we don't have to. Please don't do that. Now I got my IT guy on here that research everything. And he was like, man, this dude pinging off a tower. And this person continued to speak, you know. But I just keep blocking everything he say. I don't have a problem with that. It's just like when you a comedian and you got a person that's heckling you. It's all good. He who understands the principle of vibration hath grasped the understanding of power. So then you got the principle of polarity. Everything, all manifest matter is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pairs of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truth derived from human knowledge are but half truth. All paradoxes may be reconciled. The principle embodies the truth that everything manifest is dual. Everything manifest has two poles. Everything manifest has its pair of opposites, all of which were old Kemetic axioms. And I can go on and on with that one, but I want to get to the main topic. The principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything manifests, has its ties. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swings manifest in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. Rhythm compensates. And the principle embodies the truth that in everything there is manifest a measured motion, to and fro, a flow and an inflow, a swing backwards and a swing forward, like a pendulum, like that movement, like a tide, like an ebb and a flow, a high tide and a low tide, between the two poles which exist in accordance with the principle of polarity. Then you got the principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law, not recognized. And there are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. Nothing does. And this principle embodies the fact that there is a cause for every effect and an effect from every cause. It explains that everything happens according to law, that nothing ever merely happens like osmosis, that there is no such thing as chance, that while there are various planes of cause and effect, the higher dominating the lower planes, still nothing ever entirely escapes the law. The committed and adapts understand the art and the methods of rising above the ordinary plane of cause and effect to a certain degree. By mentally rising to a higher plane, they become causers instead of effects per se. And then you have the principle of gender. Gender is everything manifest. Everything manifest has its masculine and its feminine principle. Gender manifests on all carnal planes. And this principle embodies the truth that there is gender manifest in everything. Everything manifests. The masculine and the feminine principles, they ever at work. This is true not only of the physical plane, but of the mental and even the soul plane. On the physical plane, the principle manifests as sex. On the soul plane, it takes phantom forms, but the principle is ever the same. No creation, physical, mental, or soul is possible without this principle. An understanding of its laws will throw light on many a subject that has perplexed the minds of men and women. The principle of gender works ever in the direction of generation, regeneration. Everything and every person contains the two elements of principles, or this great principle within it, him or her. So every male thing has the so-called female element also, and every female contains also this male principle. If you will understand the philosophy of mental and spiritual creation, generation and regeneration, you must understand and study this principle. It contains the solution of many mysteries of life. So I just wanted to give that little preface, and we'll jump in a little topic that I had the pleasure to lecture on the college campus. When I talked about the misnomer black man is the father of civilization, proven by biblical history, and it's a book. Also, like I said, I have a full library, over 1 million books and documents, and I just like going on the college campus, and I have honor that I get to go on the college campus in the theology department at Grand Canyon University and lecture and mentor students that's getting their degrees, their master's degree or their undergrad in Christian studies. I'm honored when brothers and sisters go to different schools and different houses and they're getting their degree in Islamic studies, and I'm able to give them documents and I'm able to steer them in the right way when they're doing their research. Because if anything you wonder, stick with the book and see if it's law. So that's all I deal with as a teacher, as a map and a guide. Because I'm not a religious, I'm not under no religion. I'm told you everybody, I'm under triple rose. I have a clear understanding of the biblical text, and I don't diss any holy book. There's no reason to. So I'm gonna give a little introduction, and then we'll be done. Because I'm at an hour. What my professor said. You're like, it's sad that these people are acting like that. Sad. Well, what the scripture says, sometimes our people don't know what they do. That's okay. But that's why I say you got to have tough skin when you're dealing with social media, when you're dealing with different people in different religious walks, because they have so much pride in their religion, which that's fine with me. I get that. But we should not throw things on people, because there's a lot of people that don't really believe in religion. Your kid might be going to a school being taught by a teacher that can care less about your religion. That can care less. So that's all I say. All we should do is be polite to people and give them honor no matter what they believe in. And if we're not rocking with what somebody's saying, if we don't want to learn, I wouldn't even waste my time being on somebody's page, because that shows the mental aptitude of that person. I wouldn't be wasting my time with someone that I don't believe. I'll just make my own YouTube channel and I'll get on there and be teaching. And then let's see how the public treats you. That's all. But the Bibles give the first and only true account of the origin of mankind. It's the only book containing an accurate record of the progress of man towards civilization. And it's the indisputable reference of all searchers after the real factors of birth of humanity and its progress towards the civilization of today, beginning with the creation. It is the only authentic record of man, authentic because it is firsthand, not a copy of something. Yes, you have different versions. I get that. Else, or a scientific or literary review, but a dispassionate record of man's creation and progress, untrimmed, unshaped, and unvarnished, to suit prejudice. It would not be a complete record if it did not show with the rest of them the origin of the misnomer black man. And woe for all these pinnacle thieves. It shows that he, the black man, is the father of civilization. I'm not saying righteousness is not for all men, because it is. Because it is. But when you say a black person is a misnomer, black person is a slave and all this, and I say you can be, if you made in the image of the creator, you can be. You can't be Negro, black, and colored, and African American. You just can't be. So the misnomer black man has been misrepresented by prejudiced historians and lecturers. It has been and is now quoted that Ham, the father of the black man, was cursed by his father Noah. But now, in regard to this incident, you got to take the Bible for record. For all my people that be talking about some curse of Ham, and you got misnomer black Christians, yeah, it was a curse of Ham, that's why we this. I said, man, you clearly, I know we don't study. We just caught up and excited, and that's okay. But for the record, take the Bible. And anyone not totally blind with prejudice will be convinced by reading in the book of Genesis, the 9th chapter, from the 20th to the 27th verse, inclusive, that Noah did not, for he could not curse Ham, although he did, in a fit of intoxication, pronounce a curse on Canaan, just like a lot of people get on here and they intoxication or in their so-called arbitrary way, they'll get the spewing off at the mouth. Can no regular man curse you? Yeah, they can curse at you. Yeah, they can curse at you. The son of Ham. In passing, you got to mention that Canaan was never inconvenienced by no curse of Noah, because he was the father of 7 prosperous nations. Foremost among them were the Canaanites, the Phoenicians, and the Sidonians. The Sidonians sprang from Sidon, who was the first son of Canaan. It's in your Bible, according to Genesis chapter 10. Genesis, the 10th chapter, the 15th verse. Genesis, the 10th chapter, the 15th verse. Write this down. Write this down. These same Sidonians are the men descended from misnomer black men, whom Solomon ordered of Hiram of Tyre. All of you brothers that's Mason, when I talk about Solomon temple, and when Jablel, Jablum, and Jublim, they killed Hiram, the one that built Solomon's temple. It's in your Bible. You had two Hirams in your Bible to engage to the skill, hewing, and designing of the timber work of Solomon's temple. Solomon declaring that these Sidonians, aka black men, were the only men possessed with anywhere near sufficient skills to take charge of and successfully complete the artistic timber work on his Solomon's temple. What do you mean? Read 1 Kings, the 5th chapter, the 6th verse. It speaks very plainly of this fact. And Solomon knew that the black race was a superior, not an inferior. Why? Because in your Bible, who did he marry? He married Pharaoh's daughter. Read it in 1 Kings, the 3rd chapter, the 1st verse, the 7th chapter, the 8th verse, and also the 9th chapter and the 16th verse. Solomon's wife might have been of as dark skin or even as black as he was. For history shows that Egypt had two full Ethiopian pharaohs just before and during the reign of Solomon. According to Herodotus, the names of these two Ethiopians were Sabaco, S-A-B-A-C-O, or Sabikos, S-E-B-I-C-O-S, and Setos, S-E-T-H-O-S. So Solomon surely got an Ethiopian, aka or a Negro, or aka misnomer black woman for a wife. And this naturally increased the proportion of the Negro blood in the veins of the true future king of the Jews. Viewing the progress of the immediate descendants of Ham, we learn that a curse laid upon by a mortal of that day was a foolish and ineffective, as it is today. When a person say this and they jump on my page and they say this, what you're saying is foolish and ineffective as it is today. And the story about this curse, also the story of the misnomer black man who contended that a black skin and woolly hair is a disgrace, has, according to the Bible, no foundation. And speaking of black skin, the greatest brain work and wisdom ever given to this world were given by men of so-called black skin, or at least in the veins of the greatest portion of blood with Ethiopian or Negro blood. As to the assertion and King Solomon, all you got to do is read the Songs of Solomon, the 1st chapter, the 6th verse. Solomon, dark skin, should cause no surprise because his mother was a Hittite, was also the widow of Uriah. Read in 2 Samuel's, the 12th chapter, the 9th and the 10th verse. The Hittites are the descendants of Heth, and Heth was the second son of Canaan. All you got to do is read your Bible. It's in Genesis, the 10th chapter, the 15th verse. Read it. That's why in the Bible, I think it's Matthew's when it breaks down the genealogy of Yahshua the Messiah. As to the woolly hair, Jesus, which is Yahshua, because it never. And then another statement in academia, when a person say they don't know the English name of Jesus, it's not Joseph, it's Yahshua, and all it takes is some scholarship, but a lot of our people won't do that. The blessed Savior of mankind will have his head covered with woolly hair when he comes to judge the world. It's in Daniel, the 7th chapter, the 9th and the 10th verse. And then when I was in a college campus, and a lot of people accuse things, because our own people, when they see something different, they don't know. But in your Bible, the followers of Yahshua, even the high priest, they wore their turban with the jewel on it. And then when you see the Al-Islam Muslims, they call this a kufi. In your Bible, it's a bonnet. All you got to do is take a little time to research, but that's what we do as a people. But it's all in your Bible. The high priest wore a turban with the jewel on it. Google it. Now, if Daniel's prophecy is true, that when Christ left this earth, he had woolly hair, he naturally will return with woolly hair. And the pictures of him today are erroneous conception of him by artists. And his grand old book, the Bible, does not show that God ever turned a man black to disgrace him for his sins or anything else. But the same Bible does show that God's power did turn a man skin white to disgrace him because of his sins, and said that his seed will be likewise forever. Facts are stubborn things and often very disagreeable and sometimes even sickening. And by reading carefully the 5th chapter of the 2nd Kings, the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th verse, many of our highly civilized brethren whose ancient ancestors disgraced them will suffer an alarming fit of nausea. Among the many low, cowardly things that have been said and done against the misnomer Negro during this Christian era, one poor, benign individual published a joke in a book form in which he claims that the Negro is a beast. I got that book. I lectured on a college campus. The poor fellow tries to be serious and no doubt thinks he is offering at least some proof of his assertion. The poor fellow, of course, receives some sympathy and would no doubt receive as much as any the rest of his class. Were it not for the fact that he holds a professorship in one of the leading American Christian universities, and I had the pleasure to lecture at that university, to remove that dogma. Of course, the disgust, if any, is felt for those responsible for placing this poor devil in such a position, and the real and well-placed sympathy is for the student that listened to that crap, who must suffer because of this person. The fact remains, however, that regardless of what has been said and done against the misnomer Negro, and for whatever might be said or done against him, in future, he is the only man, the only woman who can trace themselves back through the ages to the origin and find monumental evidence of his unequal greatness, his prowess, the laurels and the great honors that you won, the things you created and perfected, which have a direct influence on civilization today. The misnomer black man, I boldly assert, was the father of civilization, born in the land of Egypt. And the different branches of science and art were simply transmitted to other races, which, as the ages have rolled by, only been enlarged and to some extent improved upon. Even the modern American Negro has proven that he is original. For instance, as a torso artist, he has no superiors, and no Negro was ever known to enter a barber college. To learn the trade, Negroes inherit the sweetest, most musical voices. All of them do. Not forgetting others like Blind Tom, Blind Bone. The fame of these two men needs no comment. They only displayed the talent that was handed down to them through centuries by their ancestors. As for the misnomer Negro being original, why the Negro has given great America the only claim she ever did or ever will have to a national music. Once again, God, Yahweh, Allah, Buddha, whatever you call it, the higher calling, whatever you want to call it, honor the misnomer black man. Why? By allowing some of his Ethiopian blood to flow in the veins of his son, Jesus Christ, aka Yahshua the Messiah. And I unhesitantly assert that Jesus, Yahshua, would in America be classified a Negro. And I make this assertion only on the authority of the Bible, according to which Yahshua, we call Jesus, was born out of what? The tribe of Judah. Judah had only what? 5 children, and they were males. What do you mean, Sheik? Read 1 Chronicles, the 2nd chapter and the 4th verse, and tell me, what do it say? 3 by his first wife and 2 by his second wife. Read 1 Chronicles, the 2nd chapter, the 3rd and the 4th verse. Read it for yourself. And both of his wives were descendants of Canaan, a black man who was the son of Ham. Where it's at? It's in Genesis, the 10th chapter, the 6th verse. Read it for yourself. Tamar, Judah's second wife, bore him 2 of these sons whose names were Phares and Zerah. You can find that in 1 Chronicles, the 2nd chapter and the 4th verse. These 2 names appear where? In the genealogy of Yahshua the Messiah, or what we say, Jesus Christ, in the book of Matthew. 1st chapter, the 3rd verse. Read it for yourself. So it's no trouble to see that Judah, of whom the Christ was to come, started out by presenting the world children of Canaanite women who were Hamite descendants. So now, for my religious people, when you talk about the Virgin Mary, of whom Christ was born, was beyond all doubt a woman out of the tribe of Judah. And every Bible reference proclaims that Jesus, which is Yahshua, because there never was a J in the Hebrew dialect, was to spring from the tribe of Judah. Read Genesis 49 and 10. Read Hebrews 7 and 14. Read Revelations 5 and the 5th chapter. Even St. Paul tells you in Romans 1 and 3 that Jesus, which is Yahshua, was of the seed of David according to the flesh. David is the 10th man named from Judah in the genealogy of Yahshua the Messiah, or Jesus Christ. Matthew, the 1st chapter, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th verse, added to his David's great-great-grandfather, Booz, was born of the woman Rahab, who was a direct descendant of Ham. Read Matthew, the 1st chapter, the 5th verse. And this also shows that David, one of the greatest soldiers, was one who most successfully led his people, and one who had Negro blood in his veins. And Bible history is full of honors of the misnomer black man. Jethro, the Ethiopian or the Negro father-in-law of Moses, who was the author who first employed that which is today our judicial system, from the Bible perspective. But we know where that come from. Considerably twisted and revised to meet the changing conditions of civilization. Read Exodus, the 18th chapter. And the chapter tells of Jethro's visit to Moses, and how he gave Moses the foundation of what is today the system of graded courts for pronouncing judgments. And again, Moses, the Hebrew emancipator, was named by a misnomer black woman, Pharaoh's daughter. Didn't she say she called him Moses because she drew him out of the water? Read Exodus 2 and 10. And besides, misnomer black men educated Moses. And at any rate, he received what education he had in the schools of the misnomer black people of Egypt. Read Acts, the 7th and the 22nd. So there is nothing remarkable, in fact, that Booker T. Washington, all these W.E.B. Du Bois, W.S. Scarborough, and many other Negro or misnomer black men occupy places among the foremost and most eminent educators of the world. And why should they not? They are descendants from fathers who ruled Egypt centuries ago, and with their great wisdom laid the foundation of learning. Just like Bishop H.M. Turner, he was born at Newberry, South Carolina, in February 1st, 1833, the senior bishop of an AME church. He has been bishop for over 31 years during that time, and is quoted as the walking encyclopedia of the Methodists, and for this cause, the Last Generation Conference that convened at Norfolk. When I go on a college campus around all my European Christians and Jews, even my Islamic brothers, they call me Melchizedek. I get no disrespect from no one, because why disrespect somebody? It's no reason to. Remember that time changes all things is saying so old and so true as to admit of no argument. It is exemplified in so many different ways as to require no comment. And yet, when we hear the phrase used guiltily and thoughtlessly, how a lot of us people do, every day, it is but natural to wonder if the one who uses its reality what he says or what he thinks, when our brothers and sisters just get to spewing up at the mouth of things. And I say it's messed up. It's just messed up as us that we let religion and politics separate us, and we can't sit down at the table as the same people of you and come to an agreement. When I lecture with all my European Jewish colleagues, if they have a disagreement, they're not going to disrespect each other on those social media. They're going to talk it out, and then they're going to walk out the house holding hands because they have a mission. They have an agenda. We don't. We don't have an agenda. We don't. An early queen of Egypt was the descendant of the Ethiopian or the Negro race. All this, it conceded by some of the modern writers, some of them going so far to say that her skin was very black. And a few of them acknowledged that it was this black queen who placed the first fleet of warships on the River Nile. They have no doubt traced this woman back to where they are satisfied that she was a descendant in a direct lineal line from Zipporah, the misnomer black and Ethiopian wife of Moses. We read very little of these women because modern writers seek to obscure them, and our misnomer black preachers of the gospel, they never preach or lecture on the part of the Bible in which they are mentioned. Why? Because if we do, we must give credit to misnomer black people. And in this connection, I don't speak of biblical history alone, were it not for the fact that these dimensions of this book would be extended far beyond what I'm talking about. all are accomplished, even with Hannibal, the Carthaginian general. Record the accomplishments of misnomer black men without intervening of no long history, down to Alexander Dumas, Toussaint Overture, Alexander Servevich, Pushkin, you know, the one that wrote the Russian language, Russian African poet, Crispus Attucks, Alexander Hamilton. It's a lot. It would also mention a great misnomer black man who can never forget L. Cheney and San Juan Hill. Besides the heroes of war, modern history is repleted with the names of misnomer black men, famous in peace for their accomplishments in science and letters of art, the same way I'm accomplished on academia, in theology and history, and writing books and linguistics. That's why I don't get mad at my own people. That's why I don't get mad when somebody jump on YouTube and they start spewing up at the mouth. I done been called everything. A Negro killed my brother. My baby brother, Akil Jelani Goodman Bay, was killed by somebody that looked like me in Flint, Michigan. My cousin, Miguel Swain, was killed by somebody that looked just like me in front of our so-called friend that we grew up with right in front of his house. He slumped dead in his van. So when a person jump on YouTube and they start spilling up at the mouth, I'm built for this. I already live like I'm dead, so a person can throw darts at me all day. Space will not permit me to dwell upon these men' accomplishments. You know, and then as I close, the truth is that the term Caucasian has little or no meaning as it is now used. The word itself is a conventional term given at first by Bloomback. Research who Bloomback is, to designate what he considered the highest type of the human family, shown by a skull from Mount Caucasus. And when we attempt to trace those who claim the name as an expression of their superiority, we find this type disappeared. There is no pure specimen now in existence. And if we ask what is white, we can only say that it is a term used to designate the absence of color. That's all, and no sign whatsoever of race integrity. We have already indicated that science and invention points to the fact that primitive man was not white. No disrespect to no one. This is what I get to speak about in education. We're not talking prejudice, but if you say you come from slavery, tell them to give you real history. And it's no theory. You know? It's no theory. Ham, the father of the black man located in Africa. Africa was his homestead, so to speak. David, the psalmist, credited Ham with the territory in the 105th Psalms, the 23rd and the 27th verse, and also in the 106th Psalms, the 22nd verse. Now, if this is not true, and we reject it on the ground of not being sufficient proof of the misnomer black man's first and original home, we can, on quite as good ground, reject any and every part of the Bible. For what I here state is no wild imagination, but facts taken from the Bible. Cush, Mizraim, Put, Canaan were the first sons of Ham. Genesis, the 10th chapter, the 6th verse. And these four sons included Nimrod, the grandson of Ham, were the first two to start the work on the problem of civilization. In a word, they were the pioneers and the very pillars of civilized governments. It's in your Bible. Cush, located in South Egypt on the river Nile, became the father of the Ethiopians, as well as the father of the Cushites through Nimrod, who located on the southern part of the Euphrates River. It is also to be remembered that Nimrod is the founder of the Babylonian kingdom. Read Genesis, the 10th chapter, the 10th verse. Mizraim, which is Egypt, located on the upper part of the river Nile. And he became what? The father of the Egyptians. Put, or Hut, because a lot of times you didn't pronounce the P, located in the northern part of Africa. Canaan, located in the land known as the Old Palestine country, which is modern Turkey. Canaan became the father of the Canaanites. Read Genesis, the 10th chapter, the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and the 19th verse. And according to the Bible, the above is the exact location of the first sons of Ham. And the question which naturally follows is, was civilization born in their land and given birth by Ham's first offspring? It is conceded by John Clark Ritpack and a few other writers on ancient history that the Egyptians were the fathers of civilization. According to the chronology of Matthew, an Egyptian priest, Egypt was founded in the year BC 3892, and Menes was the first mortal king. The all-important question now arises: were the Egyptians descendants of misnomer black people, or were they descendants of misnomer white people? Were they descendants of Ham or Shem? It is well known that students claim to be divided on their opinion as to the original stock of which their ancient Egyptians came. Rithpat, among others, say they were neither Semitic nor Negro. But let's do scholarship. Let's do scholarship, because we scholars here. But conclude his remarks on the origin of the Egyptians by saying that the ancient Egyptians were considered a branch of that part of the Cushite family. So you just lost, which settled in Asia. You just lost. You just lost. You just lost right there. Probably the little matter of the Cushites being the grandchildren of Ham slipped this person's mind. Else his statement would not have been so conflicting, because he just saying that they were not Negroes, but in the same voice ends his argument by saying that they were a branch of the Cushite family of Asia. Like, okay, it requires no laborious research. I'm just doing scholarship. I did this at my oral dissertation with Christian scholars, with professors, got a standing ovation, and I graduated from Grand Canyon University with honors. With honors. I don't diss no religious studies. And when I go to the Muslim temples, I go as a scholar and a teacher and a tasawwuf. I just open the Islamic books and I say, well, that's not law. Why? That's tradition. Open up your Quran, open up your Bible. I don't come to argue with no one, but that's what we do with man-made religion. And I'm not here to argue nobody's religion. I'm under the triple rose. I'm under the triple rose. I'm under the adapt chamber. I understand the Paraclete, the Fatimid, the Jerusalem. I have a clear understanding. That's why I'm able to go all over. When I deal with my people in Africa that love Credo Matua, and they say, man, you should just, after you get your passport, just leave the States and come over here and help us build our area. Or when I deal with my Ethiopian, Abyssinian people, they say, man, they look at me as Haile Selassie when Haile Selassie sent all his people to the Americas to get their education and went back home and built their area up. They weren't arguing with each other on no religion. When you research Tony Brown's journals, and you see John Henry Clark and Dr. Ben and all those scholars and professors, they ain't on here arguing no religion. They debunking Eurocentric and Negrocentric propaganda. They ain't on here arguing with me or nothing. They're not doing that. They was building, and they all said the same thing. All you got to do is pull up Tony Brown journals when everybody say they love Dr. Ben. And Dr. Ben said he don't have no dog in that religious fight. Dr. Ben's wife was a damn I forget what she was. A different religion. He went through all the religious houses. Dr. Ben was a Mason. And that's what I tell people. I say, man, I'm a teacher, a scholar, an educator. I'm a Moor. I know who I am. And I have degrees in Christian studies. My master's degree is in Christian education. My master's degree from Grand Canyon University that I graduated with honors is in Christian education. I'm an Islamic teacher as well. I have a lot of people that's under me. My Muslim people call me Imam. They just call me teacher. My European Jewish people call me Melchizedek. My Moorish homeboys call me Sheik. That's what I'll be telling them. But what we do, we get all messed up. And I say, because my people are lost due to a lack of knowledge, because we refuse to learn. And we let religion, politics destroy us because we don't know linguistics. But let me finish. It requires no laborious research to establish the fact that Cush was the father of all Cushite nations. He was also the first son of Ham. Genesis, the 10th chapter, the 6th verse. Now then, if the Ethiopians and all other Cushite nations who sprang from this first son of Ham were not Negroes, will some of our historians omit the word probably so much used by them and saw what they were? It is fair to assume that with their boasted intelligence and superior brain power, by this time they would have been able to search out and connect at least some of the many facts and plain indisputable records in the Bible, which leaves no room for doubt or probability. Just like when our own people that look like me, and when I'm out here in Arizona, because Arizona is a red state, and when I'm around my European colleagues, they say they love my national headdress, or they love my religious headdress. When I wear my fez, they say, I love your fez. And then they say, well, we know misnomer black people wear it in secrecy and clandestine because they under some black stuff. And they know my fez is Leviticus 25:10. They know my turban is in the Bible. The high priest wore a turban with the jewel on it. Research it in your Bible. Just ask Google what turbans were in the Bible, and then get your lexicon, which a lot of us misnomer black people, we don't study language and linguistics. We don't do that. We just accuse. And then what I have under my turban in the Bible is called a bonnet, but the Muslims call it a kufi. When I wear my regalia, my tunic or my kutra, cotton or silk with the embroidery on it, the followers of Yahshua, that's what they wear. When you get the lexicon and when you start seeing it, the native attire. So when people just start saying things and spewing up at the mouth, I said, dude, I'm just a high priest. And the Bible tell you to have your head covered. And why to have your head covered? But the first thing we do, we start spewing up at the mouth because my people are lost due to a lack of knowledge. Why? Because we refuse to learn. And we start hating on things that we don't know. That's what the misnomer Negro do and the religious people do. But when I open the Bible, it's right in the Bible. Then you got to start apologizing. And I accept your apology, but I don't forget. But that's what we do to each other. And it's all in your biblical scriptures. Get the lexicon, the girdle, the sash, the turban with the jewel on it. All that. It is fair to assume that with their boasted intelligence and superior, they should know this. All you got to do is search the Bible, and it's indisputable records in the Bible, which leaves no room for doubt. We learn from the Bible that Ham is the father of the African family. The Ethiopian is the darkest or the blackest tribe of the Hamites. That's why when you get in the 1599 Geneva Bible, it don't call you African or Ethiopian. It call you a blackamoor. And black is just described the hue of the Moor. You had all different type of tones of Moors. You had swarthy Moors. You had Egyptian Moors. You have brunette Moors. And brunette is a darker color. I can take you to Swarty Piet or Black Pete in the Netherlands. Research Swarty Piet or AKA Black Pete of the Netherlands. And then research the Corsica flag, the Moor with the bandana on it. And then I teach you another part of history. Cush was the founder of the father of this tribe. Moses selected his wife from these misnomered black or Ethiopian tribes. Read in Numbers, the 12th chapter, the first verse. It must be plain to anyone who will read the parts referred to in the Bible that these Europeans, no disrespect, and a lot of our Negro preachers that talk about some curse of Ham, that contention that the Egyptians sprang from the Cushites was the wrong avenue to escape the blood of the Negro or their relation to the black families. I believe that a lot of those pseudo-academias and those, no disrespect, so-called white and so-called Negro preachers, yes, they might have wrote in good faith. Yes, they might have been sincere, but they were sincerely wrong. For the majority of the historical writers claim that the Egyptian descendants from a white race. Notwithstanding, they admitted that the Old Testament gives the truest, the most complete and reliable record on the origin of the Egyptians of any other book. It is the unnatural to believe that their opinions are influenced by racial prejudice. Now, it's true that the Bible contains the only authentic, this is what they say, and certainly the most ancient record of not only the Egyptians, but of all mankind. And I can prove it by that the Egyptians, the Hamites, sprang from Mizraim. Now watch this. Mizraim, M-I-Z-R-A-A-M, according to the Bible or the biblical Gazette. And I asked them, they're like, what's that? See, that's what I be telling people. Because people with their religion, they get on here and then they start just spewing up at the mouth. And it be people that look like me. And I never get no disrespect from my European colleagues. None. They be laughing. I'm gonna put a lecture on here by a European professor and be laughing at black folk. Be laughing. He be like, man, misnomer black people don't know nothing about no religion. They just caught up on some Jesus and caught up on some that somebody returning. What do you mean? They can't break it down with Jesus returning. Who is Jesus? Returning on what? Because the scripture said I would come down myself in the form of a man. So what is he going to come back as? The word Egypt. So according to the biblical Gazette, the word Egypt is derived from the word Mizraim. And the word Mizraim was the true name of the first sons of Ham. Read Genesis, the 10th chapter, the 6th verse, and see if I'm lying. By the word Egypt being coined from the word Mizraim, it strengthens my contention that the Egyptians, or the Egyptian was descendant of the misnomer black man. And then you can dig further into the rich earth and with more proof, more enlightenment out of the book of truth. Do y'all know what the book of truth is? A lot of my Mormons know what the book of truth is. My Europeans know what the book of truth is by viewing the ancient Bible map of Africa and Asia. You can get in any old Bible and look on the front of the so-called tribes and tell me what do those names are and where it's at. And where are all those so-called tribes, the 12 tribes at? Where it's at? Where it's at? When you get to viewing the ancient Bible map of Africa and Asia, which map can be found in the back of the New Testament, one can readily pick out the spots upon which Shem, Ham, and Japhet first located. That's very simple. That's very simple. You will notice that Mizraim, the second son of Ham, and the accredited father of the Egyptians, located on the very spot, so to speak, where the great city of Memphis was built by Menes, the first king of Egypt. And again, you will notice that all the names within the so-called African borders are names of what? The sons of Ham. Shem and his offsprings, located where? In Asia. Perhaps a better way to locate Ham, Shem, and Japhet and their first offsprings is to first read the 10th and 11th chapters of Genesis, then locate their names on the map. And it will be seen that not a Shemite, no disrespect to my European colleagues, because I love everybody. My people know my voice. I don't deal with no color thing. The Creator created everybody. The red bird, the blue bird, the polar bear, the koala bear, the black bear, you and I. If you born from your mama in 9 months, you are God's creation. Now hate and prejudice and religion, just like eating messed up food, that comes from your mama or your tradition. Peace, Noble Brian. Originally located in Africa, and all of the misnomer white men, Albion, Trailer-like, whatever you want to call them, located in Asia, and according to the Bible, misnomer white men, no disrespect, never began to travel in Africa until when? Abraham's time, which was BC. That's 1921. That's recent. The Egyptians lived in a high state of civilization 2,000 years before Abraham's first visit to Egypt. And the appearance of misnomer white people, Albion, Trailer-like, no disrespect, was a circus and a curiosity to the misnomer black people. Abraham realized this fact and commanded his wife to do what? Represent herself as what? His sister. Because what? As he said, she was what? Fair to look upon, aka white. No disrespect to nobody. Read Genesis, the 12th chapter, the 11th and the 12th and the 13th verse. No disrespect. This would indicate that the Egyptians were not white, European, or Albion. And I will say without fear of my assertion being disproven, that until after the time of Abraham, the Egyptians were a Simon pure black race. When you get the 1828 Webster Dictionary, look up what an American is. Just do a Titula scholarship. Get the 1828 Webster Dictionary and tell me what Americans consist of. And then we ain't got to have no discussion. And shortly after Abraham's visit, the Kemetic, or the white, the Albion, the Trailer-like, trailers began to pour into Egypt to such an extent that the Egyptians began intermarrying with them, or grafting with them per se, with them. And of course, this intermarrying had its effect on your so-called pure blood per se. And this intermarrying was the cause of the misnomer black man, or the full-blooded Egyptians, losing the power and control of the kingdom because the son does the bidding of their mother. I can show y'all this in Masonic history when I talk about the DAR, which is the Daughters of American Revolution, which are misnomer black women. When they call themselves an Eastern Star, they under the European. And when our misnomer black people, Prince Hall, they have some potentate over them and they don't wear their fans freely. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. So I just want to leave that with that right there. I can go on and on with teachings, to illuminate this. When a person jump on my page and get to spewing this, and that, and the other, and clearly don't have an idea of who I am and what I speak on, but that's what we do. We should be slow to speak. But we definitely won't disrespect no European when he call you a slave, or the Negro, or your supervisor tell you to shut up, Negro, and go punch that clock. I bet you won't curse him out. I bet you won't say rebuke him. Just like when the cop just killed Sister Massey in Chicago. I don't see brothers and sisters standing behind nothing and saying what's the misnomer black agenda. But I see we on here fighting with each other. That's what we do. That's what we do. The evidence of God's power was displayed to Pharaoh Menfat, who is generally conceded to be the Pharaoh of the Exodus, by his God instruments, Moses and Aaron, who were to appear before the Pharaoh and cast down their rods, which turned to serpents. It's in Exodus, the 7th chapter, the 10th verse. When they had cast down their rods before Pharaoh and they turned to serpents, Pharaoh called these wise men or magicians of Egypt with their enchantments, and they cast down their rods, which also became serpents. Exodus 7th chapter, 11th and the 12th verse. This was the performing of the two miracles, one by God's power and one by human power. This being with God, though only for an instance of time, is what no European Albion Trilodite man has had the power to do since his creation. And I'm coming from no disrespect. But however, God, in order to demonstrate his supreme power, caused the serpents transformed from the rods of Moses and Aaron to swallow the serpents transformed from the rod of Pharaoh or Egypt's wise men. Exodus 7 and 12. I'm just painting a picture. This is what the people say when they want to quote the Bible. I don't have no disrespect. I understand if the Bible is written in analogy, parable, and symbology, then break it down. And most people won't do that. They'll just spew on things. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light, and repent and do all this. And I ain't with no scare tactic. Can't nobody scare me. I don't put my faith in no man. Can't nobody say a whole bunch of words to put any fear in my heart. Nobody, especially not on no YouTube. And the misnomer black man's power as the first power among the nations had begun to decay. It's all in your Bible. Read Revelations, the 13th chapter, the 11th verse of St. John, the divine. I am very much impressed by the description of his revelations, which God unfolded to him, which he described as the following. I behold another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like lambs, and he spake as a dragon. Now to my hand, the foregoing vision of St. John the divine was the very country, the United States of America, revealed to him ages ago, before this country was discovered and named. The two horns I interpret to be the two great political parties. The two great political parties. The two great political parties that have done so much corrupt this government and misrule its people from their infancy to their present day. And again, the American government spake like a dragon when it permitted slavery to exist, especially when its Constitution says that all men were born free and equal. Now concerning the creator and entrailing of nations, their rise and fall. That is the will and the work of God. 75th Psalms, the 6th and the 7th verse is right there. Jeremiah, the 27th and the 5th verse. Daniel, the 2nd chapter, the 21st verse. Daniel, the 4th chapter, the 17th verse. So I'm not here to argue with no one. I'm not here to argue with no one. It's a waste of my time because I know most of our people are not educated. I know most of our people don't study. I know most people only read what somebody tell them to do. I know that. And I know most melanated people think they Negro, black, or color. But how can you be? Because God didn't create no Negro, black, and color. He didn't. He made you in the image of himself. And all the forefathers weren't no slaves. That's why I say when you deal with most religious people and all they do is read the Bible and they start yelling and spewing up at the mouth and they won't even take the time to research who I am. When I'm lecturing, I ask all misnomer black people, have you ever been to a lecture? So when Dr. Ben lecturing, Dr. Ben tell you like, hey, I ain't none of that. So don't sit up here and act like I got a dog in somebody religious fight. Because I don't. I ask you, is the Bible written in analogy and parable and symbology? Yes. So break down the analogy and the parable and the symbology. And you better have a lexicon with me because you can't arbitrarily explain words. In the book of Matthew, when it says it's finished, it's fulfilled, we're not under the law no more. I ask a person, what is that word fulfilled? What's the etymology of that word in that context? They can't even tell you. It's a Greek word called paliro, meaning to magnify and bring back to your remembrance. Because in those times, and just like today, our own religious people, especially misnomer black people, was teaching false doctrine, which they do today. That's why the Bible says, woe to you lying preachers. That's why I don't argue with no one. That's why I don't waste my time arguing with no one. I don't put the work in. I lecture in real life. I come on here and try to bring my people together. When I have a systematic class on Saturday, which is a DAP class, when I have Sunday school on Sunday on our Temple and School YouTube page and Facebook, which is the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple and School, please subscribe to that. I just lecture Sunday. That's what I'll be telling the people. Go on there and see what I minister. Go on our Temple and School YouTube page and see what I just preached and taught. Because in the Bible, Titus says the qualifications of a minister or a preacher is you have to know how to preach and teach. Go on there and see what I'm talking about. Go on there and see. But I know our people would never take the time to research nothing. So as I close, somebody asked me earlier, what do I feel about Kamala Harris? And I say, well, I can tell you this. In 2016, she said she was a Indian. And then in 2020, when it's time to run for other political positions, then she said she was black. So I said, how can your nationality change for political power? And then when I asked people, they said, we always were Democrats. I said, no, we wasn't. We was not. And then I asked a person, I like to ask because I understand the Democrat and the Republican. I understand that. I understand the Heritage Foundation. I understand Project 2025 with most black people. They just get on the internet and spew stuff. But I asked my people, what is the black agenda? I'm not getting behind nobody just because they black. I want the right person in house. So if you black and you want the black vote, what is the black agenda? Because from what I'm saying, I heard she said there ain't no black agenda. People be talking about a tax break. If you make less than 100,000, you get a tax break. I don't care about no tax break. If you want the misnomer black vote, what are you doing specifically for blacks? Just like when the alphabet, the gay people and the transsexuals, when they say, what are you going to do for us? Look what they do. They have a fight. What you going to do for the gun rights people? What you going to do for the animal rights people? They have people accountable. If you want my vote, then we're going to hold you accountable to what you say. But most black people, we caught up in emotion. And you got misnomer black women. Well, we want the first female president. That's all you care about? What is the law and policy? I'm not operating on emotion. What's the agenda? What's the agenda as these misnomer black people raised all these $1 million in a couple days? To do what? For a political party? If we can raise that much money for a political party, then we can raise that much money and get behind a real movement and watch us at the Burning Bush Tabernacle Science Temple go back to my home city and show people how to buy land in their community that nobody else want, that our own crack baby kids and junkies and uncles and aunties tore up. And I show us how to have our own religious and private community. Show us how to be tax exempt for the federal government. Show us how to use our taxes and decipher them to our religious organization and get a tax exempt receipt and build our communities back up. Because the only thing we should own is our churches and our schools. We don't have no businesses. Back in the day, you have FUBU, Sean John, I forget the rest of those so-called urban clothing lines. Now you only got this tight Gucci stuff and this designer. We don't own nothing. When they wanted, no disrespect to Martin Luther King, but with that assimilating to do what? Oh, forget our restaurants. Negroes want to go to a European or Albion restaurant where they ain't want you to. Or so you telling me that your mama or your sister or your auntie or the lady or the empress that grew up in your neighborhood that can cook good, that can cook all different dishes, you telling me that some European or somebody else's food is better than hers, and you want to shut down all your mom and pop stores and your clothing stores and your organizations to go to somebody else's crap? That's what not me. That's why our neighborhoods is tore up. Why? Because misnomer black people, when I get my piece of money, I'm moving out the so-called hood. Look at the neighborhoods now. You got companies, especially I'm from Flint, Michigan, buying whole blocks for tennis shoe money. They're getting ready to push Negroes to a project. They're going to refurbish the whole neighborhood. So when a person comes to me about politics, I say, well, do you know anything about the Electoral College? No, nothing. And I ask them, because I don't have a dog in a fight. I vote on law and policy. What do you mean, Sheik? Okay, just like in the city of Flint and just like in Arizona, was marijuana illegal at one point? Yep, that ain't got nothing to do with no Republican or Democrat. That got to do with the law and policy. So when you vote for law and policy, I ask these Negroes, Democrat or Republican, do you vote local, state, and federal? No. Who's your local politician? Who's the governor? Who's the mayor? You don't even know the city councilman. You live in the world. Who the city councilman? Who the police chief? So that's going to affect you more than some damn president. But we get our pants in a ruffle. I say, what's the policy and laws that Harris has administered? When people say, well, yeah, well, she locked people up that was criminals. But all you got to do is go back to old videos. She says she don't have an agenda for black people. They asked her specifically, what are you going to do for black people? And she said, well, specifically, nothing. But what we do, we get caught up. We want the first black this. I don't have a dog in a fight. But what I do know is before Trump was the president or was voting for political office, them Negroes loved him. Them misnomer Negroes, all them rappers, all of them had him in their videos. And you can't tell me I'm lying. I'm around them. They all want to be like Trump, quoting them in their raps and all that. That's when I'm talking about public opinion. That's why when I talk about the Manchurian candidate and all this stuff, when I know the game, when I know about brainwashing the European that so-called shot at Trump, it's a game on both sides. We just not into the know. This man, it's called collateral damage. They got Negroes fighting because we don't understand facts and we don't have an agenda. And the average Negro clearly don't know politics. Clearly, they just like to get a sticker and say they voted. You go on Facebook and you hear Negroes, well, they don't want Trump. But, okay, well, since, and most of these Negroes don't know nothing. Well, we want Harris. Why? Because she black. And that shouldn't be the reason why you vote for someone. Because I can show you documents in 2016, she said she wasn't black. She said she was Indian. And then in 2020, then we said we got the first black person that's going to be vice president. So how do your nationality change that much? How? That's all I'm saying, because color don't mean nothing to me. I talk about agenda. If people are misnomer black people and you voting for a CEO, which is your president, what is the black agenda? And what is the agenda that this person have for you? Tell them to lay it out on the table. And misnomer Democrats, they can't tell me. How you going to hold them accountable? You know? How you going to hold somebody accountable? You can't. You can't. And that's what I tell people. And when I have these real conversations, people don't want to talk. Because we don't do this. People don't want to talk. It's all social programming. A lot of things be social programming. People don't want to talk. The first thing misnomer black people do, they get emotional. Just like how black religious people, they get emotional. Or if you ain't Christian and all this, or if you ain't Muslim and all this, or if you ain't this, all that. I ain't with that. I said, if you want my vote, which one is private, but I speak on private matters. If you want my vote, because black people have no rights that nobody got to abide to. But if you want my vote as a misnomer Democrat or as a misnomer black person, just tell me what's the Democrat black agenda. That's all you got to tell me. I'm waiting for somebody to tell me the Democratic black agenda. Because all I see, I'm from Flint, Michigan. When everybody say that they got their own money, what happened to all our public schools and our high schools and our middle schools? They closed down and they abandoned. Why? Because the bus be shipping your kids to other schools for teachers that don't look like you. That's what's happened. And we're not being educated by our educated brothers, and they have certain licenses for you to teach your people. But if we had our own, which is the church supposed to be the first education house, we'll be teaching this, and educators like myself in history, spirituality, and religion, and economics, and finance. We'll be teaching our own people, and our people, after our kids go to public school, you shouldn't have no problem giving donations for me to teach them. But all your so-called reparations is going to cheap labor and public housing and welfare. So that's all I ask my people. We shouldn't be mad like a dog when I speak, when I say I don't have a dog in a fight, but I ask my Democratic misnomer black people, what is the black agenda? And if you vote for a person, Harris or Trump, how are you going to hold them accountable when they say they're going to do this, and I'm going to do this for this? Then when it don't happen, who do you hold accountable? Oh, I know what we're going to do. We're going to march. That's what we're going to do. We're going to march. I ain't marching. That's all I ask people. I'm not here to argue with nobody. I ask people that. If misnomer black people and women and so-called Democrats can come together in less than a week and raise all these millions of dollars, that should tell you that it's a game. And the only time we're gonna raise some money is for somebody's political party, but we ain't gonna come as a people under my organization. And you can get a tax and receipt just like that and watch me build the school for our kids. I have a full library. Watch me teach spirituality. Watch me teach history and economics. Watch me teach land patents. Show you all the different trusts instead of a will. Show you about allodial deeds so you don't lose nothing. Because all public schools lie to you. It's pseudo-academia. I did this as one of my oral dissertations at Grand Canyon University, and I got a standing ovation. So that's all I ask my brothers and sisters. I'm not here to argue with no one. I'm here to open our ears when we have these pro-black people with all this talking about this and that and the other, but clearly they have no idea. They think they're going to get something from somebody. They think they're going to get something from the government, and the government, the only thing they're going to give misnomer black people is what they've been giving you forever: welfare and cheap housing and food stamps. That's all black people got. And affirmative action. You haven't got a fair playing field. Look how many of us misnomer black people got education and got low income jobs. They working in General Motors with degrees, because when you go get a degree, it's so many lines you got to jump in. You say, man, I work in GM. Or you go to school to be a teacher and get your bachelor's degree, then you got to take some test or some standardized test that means nothing. That has nothing to do with you teaching about a person. And then you got to, every so often, you got to relicense yourself. Ain't that a beat? Ain't that a beat? Just like in the so-called ancient times, when preachers got ordained, they had an overseer, which was a Protestant preacher. And they told you to teach a certain way, and they licensed you, and they revoked your license whenever they wanted to. Whenever you want teaching, they pseudo history. That's what, research the black Christian codes, research the black codes, and then come back to me and have a question, and let's have a conversation, and let's have dialogue. So once again, I don't feel no way about Harris. I don't have no personal feelings on nobody. I don't have no personal feelings on Trump, on Biden, on Harris. But as a person that studies civics and history and propaganda and human engineering, I've been telling this for people for years. I'm part of groups that this is what we do. And so when I come back, I'm going to always be factual, because I deal with the numbers. So I don't feel a certain way about no a political party. I always remove my feelings when it comes down to politics. And I use my brain, because if you feel a certain way, that means you get emotional. And then when you start feeling, you start doing, do I like this person? Do I like what they look like? Do I like them because of their skin tone? Or do I like their party? Not their law and policy, not what they done beforehand. Have you done any research to see the laws that a person done, to see how they feel about black people, to see what they talk about behind closed doors, to see, do they consider themselves black? And even if you don't consider yourself black, when you want the misnomer black vote, what is the black agenda, my brothers and sisters? What is the Democratic agenda? And when you get somebody vote, how are you going to hold them accountable? And that's all I got to say. I don't have nothing else. I have nothing else to say about none of that. I leave it as that, and I let people deal with it how they want to. But like I tell all my brothers and sisters, especially from the city of Flint, have you vote locally? Did you vote for the governor? Did you vote for the police chief? Did you vote for the mayor? What ward you live in? I don't know, Sheik. I don't know what ward I'm living in. Okay, did you vote for the city councilman? No. Did you vote for the fire chief? Did you vote for anything in the neighborhood that you live in? No. So the first thing you need to do is take a step back and start voting your right as a so-called citizen in a community that's in shambles. And start seeing where all the money is diverted from your community and where it's going. Because you still got money. You paying taxes. So where is the money being diverted to? You ain't figured that out yet? You ain't figured that out yet. Why you look at the misnomer black neighborhood and then you drive a couple miles down the road to the so-called, like I say, Grand Blanc, or to where misnomer white people or the uppity Negroes move, right down the street and look at their neighborhood. What's the difference? That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say with that. So I hope people, once you make a decision on who you vote for, let's see if your life really changed. Everybody on here that say, oh, I'm a Democrat and this, that, and they be all emotional. I say, okay, when you vote and when all this over, let's see, do your life change? And if Harris win, let's sit down. Let's have this conversation. If she win, let's see if anybody on here life change. Anybody on here, because I guarantee you your life is not going to change. We're gonna be in the same boat that we were before we even voted on her or all this, or when Biden was gonna drop out. But if y'all saw earlier, a couple weeks ago, earlier in the month, when Trump said that he got intel that Biden was gonna drop out of it, where do we get this from? These people parties. This stuff was planned. I'm telling y'all how to get emotion. This stuff was planned. And if we don't know that, we know nothing about brainwash and hypnotic and hypnosis. We know nothing about that's happened already, continue to happen again. We know nothing about human engineering, which John Coleman's talked about, which they've been talking about forever, because we don't have a clear idea of politics and we don't hold no one accountable. We just happy when someone say something that we like. Oh, yep, I'm gonna give them my vote. But what's the agenda? And from my perspective, there's no agenda for misnomering black people. Why? Because black have no rights that nobody got to attain to. That's why there's no black agenda. Trump want immunity for cops and all this, and want immunity for himself. Here it is, somebody can have felonies, and you get a felony, and they say you can't vote. You get a felony, you can't even work at Walmart. You get a so-called felony over a nonviolent crime, they don't want you to move in a community. Ain't that a beat? So I don't have a dog in this race at all. I go on law and policy. So when the ballot come out, I look at that. I look at law and policy. Yep, I do this. Yep, I do that. Yep, I do that. I'm done. I don't deal with that. My mother and father might feel a certain way about it, but me and my father and my mom, no matter what political party they with, we get to have intellectual conversations. And I asked my mother, okay, so what's the black agenda? She crack up. She was like, son, I couldn't tell you. I said, exactly. Then she said, for her agenda is just like when Martin Luther King came out and everybody was under that. But then you saw what happened with that. To give up all our stuff, to assimilate with somebody and just cancel all our stuff. And so that take the value of the dollar from us because we want to go assimilate with someone. So all I ask my brothers and sisters, what's the black agenda? The Democrats. What's the Democrat agenda for black people? And what is the Democrat Harris gonna do specifically for black people? When she say, well, we black and we all this and we don't want Trump and all that, I get that. Okay, so what is your agenda for black people? What's your agenda? They can't tell you because it ain't one. And y'all know it. Only agenda they talk about is some damn tax break. That's all they talk about. We're going to get a tax break for somebody making less than $100 grand. Well, that's damn near every Negro. What, you okay with getting $1,500? Like, really? That's all they talk about is some tax break. And most Negroes don't even know what she's talking about when it comes down to that. What is the agenda for black folk? Can anybody tell me? No, because it ain't one. What's the Democrat agenda? They can't tell me. I know the Democrat agenda and the Republican agenda. That's why I don't have a dog in a fight. It got to be more than just, I don't like Trump. Thank you. Thank you, brother. He said there is none. Or she eat hot sauce on her chicken. Thank you. I be waiting for people that can use their mind. Here it is. She on some damn Breakfast Club and they got her on there. And she say, well, I'll put hot sauce on my chicken. And my man, I forget the dude, Charlamagne the God, he was like, well, people going to think you baiting for votes. And then she said, did it work? That's what we say. Oh, we're going to invite them. We're going to invite them to the barbecue. Why? Because Clinton played a fucking saxophone? Because Clinton played a saxophone. Oh, I'm going to invite him to the barbecue. But you ain't going to invite me to the barbecue. Oh, look, he played a saxophone. He black. Man, you're retarded. But that's what we do. That's what we do. We can't have these conversations. They know nothing about this, but I can show you documents in 2016. That lady said that she was an Indian. An Indian. You know the Indians from India, an Indian? And then in 2020, she said, oh, this is the first black vice president. Now you black. I can show y'all documents because I'm into politics. I got things for the record. Just like if you go on a court, the judge gonna say, well, how long, Sheik, do you need for to get your evidence? You know, to get your evidence. So that's all I ask my people. And then our sisters, they get all emotional. So like I said, I'm not here for nobody's argument. I'm not here for no debate. That ain't my mission. When people ask me things, I respond from history, and I open my page and I open my YouTube page for dialogue. That's it. So a person, Mika said, question, what is this? But you see what I'm saying? Islam, when people, they say, what is this? Clearly, you missed it. And that's what we do. We jump right in the middle of something, no disrespect to you, Mika, and start just spewing things. What is this? We done. We already talked about things. We already lectured. Go back and research it when it's over. I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to debate with anyone. None of that. That's not my mission. But I know when we get on YouTube, that's the first thing we do. I know you just joined. No disrespect to you. I know that. No disrespect to you. But we're done talking and somebody asked me about the political and what's going on in the votes and how do I feel about the Harris lady. And I said, I don't feel no way about her, about Trump, or about Biden, because I don't base my understanding on how I feel and emotion. I base my understanding on facts. I base my understanding on facts. Give me the facts. Give me the facts of the matter. Before I accuse somebody of doing this or accusations, I say, nah, I got to deal with the facts. Because just because you don't like that person, or just because you don't need that person or like that person turban, or just because you don't like what they saying, I have to deal with the facts. So I'm not here to disrespect no one at all. I deal with the facts of the matter. And a lot of us are not into the know. And a lot of us do base things on emotions. So as I was finishing my lecture, speaking on the misnomer black man is the father of civilization proved by the Bible, as I broke down the 7 Kemetic Principles, then I broke down, he said, Black lives matter just like all lives matter. I'm like I said, I'm not into do that. But let me ask this person a question. Is black an adjective? Yes or no? Thank you. I asked my person. He said, Black lives matter just like all lives matter. I get that. But is black a nationality? Is black a nationality? I asked this. And is black an adjective? Yes or no? According to, exactly. But we should know. But we should know. But we should know these things. So I say, do you know the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendment? I ask anybody when they start saying Black Lives Matter, I say, what's the 13th and the 14th and the 15th Amendment? I ask a person, do they know what the 13th and the 14th and the 15th Amendment is? Do they know? The average nigger are going to say no. Do I say, do you know what manumissions are? They're going to say no. I'm going to ask them, do you know what reconstruction things are? They're going to say no. You see? Thank you, Noble Islam. And then this person saying, chill, bro, just expressing my soul. And that's the thing when I say about us, there's no chill. I'm answering the question. You ask me a question, I ask you a question. And that's what I say. That's what we do. It's no offense or it's no chill. You ask me a question, I ask you a question. So if a person asks me a question or make a statement, you telling me I can't make a statement? And then ask you, and then come back and say, well, do you know this? And do you know this? And the first thing we do is say, chill, bro, just expressing my soul. You see what I'm saying? Or what we do? But a person can say this and spew this. But when I ask a person, do you know what the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendment is? That's a yes and a no. I'm not saying nobody is illiterate because they don't know that. I just ask a question. That's a yes or no. I ask a person, do you know what manumissions are? That's a yes or no. I ask a person, do you know what the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 15, consists of? That's a yes or no. And that's what we do. We can't have these conversations because a person get angry and mad. And then I ask a person, well, who's behind Black lives? If Black lives matter so much, who's behind Black lives? Because blacks, according to science and law, black is silver mortis. According to science and law, black is dead in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of in the eyes of science. In this context, when we speaking on black, just like when I talk about when you sign your job and they ask you, are you Negro, black, and colored, or are you these other things? And most black people, they pick from the black people from the African continent, but it ain't no black people from no African continent. It's something else that's you on there. And I'm just talking about civics and having a real conversation on nationality and laws. When I ask a person, do they know what the Dred Scott Law consists of? Because the Dred Scott Law was never abolished. I asked a person, do you know that Abraham Lincoln, before he was the president, he was an attorney and he defended the Moore in court? That's the Spencer and Dungy, Spencer versus Dungy. Because when you're so-called black, blacks have no rights. You couldn't own no land. You couldn't do none of that stuff. That's all I ask my brothers and sisters. So a person's telling me to chill, and I say, chill what? If you expressing yourself, I'm expressing myself. That's all. So I don't have no fight. I don't know how you can act black or all that. I don't have the answer to that. I don't have the answer to things like that. I don't. That's not my mission. My mission is not to bicker back and forth with my people. My people and all God's people, because I deal with all different nationalities, is to deal with the facts. Let's deal with the laws. Let's see what it say. Let's see what history says. Let's see what the law books say. Let's open up the 13th, the 14th, the 15th Amendment. Let's look up what manumissions are. Let's see what the Reconstruction laws say. Let's get the 1828 dictionary and see what an American is. American says the copper colored races. So I'm not here to argue with nobody, man. I already done this on college. I do this with professors. I'm not here to argue with no one. I'll never argue with nobody. I don't care what color you are or what religion you are. I would never argue with you. I would say, okay, and I will let it rest. Because that's what we do when we should be able to agree to disagree and walk out, if we so-called the same you, with respect and dignity and love, but no disrespect. You know? Thank you, Islam. We say stop trolling. And I'm glad when brothers get on here. And that's all we do. We just get on here and troll. And for what? Which of the gods is my favorite God? You see what people do? I don't have nobody over none. I respect and obey all the laws and the prophet. I don't put one over the other. Why? Why would I do that? That's not my mission. But I'm not here for people just to say things and try to be jokingly, because we got to stop playing. And we all have to come together to make things happen. You know? It ain't about no white and no black thing. It ain't about no white and no black thing. I know we as a people and the Creator created us. Until we sit down at the table and say it's a people thing, we'll never be on the same page, because the Creator created us all in His image and likeness. I said I have misnumbered black people killed my brothers. I'm from the city of Flint. You see, but playing is fun. It's good. Fun leads to happiness. Hey, man, like I said, but that's what this does. You know, I give y'all love. I give y'all respect, man. And thank you for taking time out y'all day. I'm not finna go back and forth on Instagram and YouTube with this thing. No disrespect to no one. I love y'all, man. Peace and love and gratitude to your families. No matter what political party you with, I have love for you. No matter what religion you are, I have love for you. And I hope one day, as a people, no matter what color you are, if you call yourself Negro, black, or colored, or African American, no matter what color you are, I hope one day that we can respect each other and love. I hope that. I hope we stop looking at each other like this is better than that, because I don't have a discriminative bone in my blood. I have way more Europeans that support me in Arizona than my own people. So I don't operate on any hate. I couldn't. I would never do that. My profession wouldn't even allow me to do that. You know? That's what I'm saying. So once again, I give y'all gratitude and I give y'all love.